Okay, we're going to get started. Thank you, everyone, for coming out again for the second day in a row. It's exciting that we're able to do this 2 days in a row, first before the event and during the event. So this has been a good week here for the briefings, although probably not the best week to be getting around on campus and whatnot. But Paul Knight graciously stepped up months ago, not knowing, of course, what would happen. So we have a little bit of everything, right, Paul? You're going to talk about some of the OBS and some of the things that are going on now, but you also mentioned you're going to talk about the winter in general so far.
As time permits.
Sure. Okay, so let's get started.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting that the weather will trump me because it's more interesting than what I had prepared for my presentation. But, hey, you know, we'll go with the flow and see what's been happening. Fred introduced me to this very nice site from Eastern Region. Their Hydromet folks are updating with some regularity the snowfall in the region. Now, unfortunately, we don't have counties. I guess that's not one of the options for that I can see, to throw counties and stuff like that on.
There may be. Go up a little.
Yeah, let's see what we can do here.
Change the opacity.
Scroll up over on the right, the scroll bar.
Oh, up here, pardon me.
On the right.
Yeah.
Of the
right.
Boundary overlay. See that? Observer bug right
there.
There we
go. Yeah. Right. Okay.
County.
Yeah, let's do counties because this is there we go. This is much better. So you'll be able to see where the edge of the snow is. Now these reports, this is the caveat on this very nice site, is that we don't know exactly unless they indicate when they occurred. So for example, here in this is Center County, in case some of you are trying to remember what it looks like. It has this funky shape to it. But there's a report from Boalsburg of 1 inch. I suspect that's probably a Cocoa Roz report from me at 6:20 this morning. So things have obviously changed a fair bit. Here's the relatively recent report, compared to my report, of 1.8 inches at the Weather Service at 10:24 this morning. This must have been what we had this morning here, I guess, at the weather station?
Yeah.
But obviously things have accumulated a fair bit since then. We don't have to get too much farther south. I don't think we'll get a time on this. Oh, we do, actually. So 10:30 down in Juniata County in Thompsontown on Route 322, they had 7 inches of snow. And we'll just kind of migrate around to get some sense of the Capital District and how much snow has fallen in that area. Obviously, right around Harrisburg Center, Enola, which, as you know, is on the other side of the river from the Capitol, they had 9 inches at 9:30 this morning. We go down into beautiful York County, and here's, let's see if I kind of find a place I know where exactly it is. Spring Grove, that's actually a co-op observer, 13.1 inches at 10:22 this morning. So this is kind of a fun site, and you can kind of navigate around until you find, you know, the jackpot. Yeah, here's an 18. 18 in Norrisville, just over the border in Maryland. But yeah, here's a 16. Also, Lineborough. Obviously, these are right on the state line, and even to on the west side of Philadelphia. And Philadelphia, of course, has been the city of choice this winter. With every storm that comes around, seems to want to max out, at least in parts of the Philadelphia region. But here's a report of 11.5 inches. I guess that's actually in New Jersey, Camden. Here's a 10-inch. It was at northern Montgomery County, Delaware County. So not bad there. That's at 10:20. But mind you, the precipitation has kind of cut off in that area, so they're not accumulating anymore right now. Although there's indications it will come back. Here's a nice 15-inch in Exton in Chester County. So I'm not sure what this brings. Philadelphia. This what did PHL have? Is this 8.8?
As of this morning.
Yeah. So and of course they may get a little bit more before all is said and done. So this brings them up. This is now what the only winter, Dan, you mentioned, or Fred, has had 4 6-inch plus snowstorms, which is remarkable. I mean, given Philadelphia, you know, they've never had a winter with 4 storms of 6 inches or more, and now they're I'm sure they're up in the over 40 inches. Certainly more snow than we've had. Kind of fascinating. If we want to find out where the huge numbers have been, I guess this. Do we look at this 18? Yeah. I guess there's been some high numbers on the west side of Washington, north or in.
I see 19 northwest of Baltimore there. White.
White. Oh, there it is. Okay, this little one here. Oh, there. All right. Germantown. Okay. Yeah. So there's. Oh, I see this other one. Yeah. Okay. Now I see it. When I said white, I can start to look at these. So here's some decent snowfall amounts in the northern part of. I guess that's Baltimore County. I don't know my counties in Maryland very well. But yeah, 19 in. This is not very far from where MDA is. I know they're in Gaithersburg, and Germantown is not all that far away either. So indeed, the guidance was not doing all that bad with regard to what was predicted. If we look at the bigger picture of the radar loop and see if we can get things into motion again here. And Fred was kind enough to point out to me, now we do have a gap in here because of some missing data from, just got hung up, but if you follow this band that was just west of Raleigh, there's some very good continuity of that band that's also kind of over us. So probably there is at least 3 dynamic things happening here in terms of causing this enhanced precipitation areas. One is the coastal front surface convergence associated with the strong warm advection. The second probably is related to some of the jet stream dynamics that are going on in terms of the left exit region of this jet max, and also some of it is just associated with the actual vort max, which is this stuff back here, still in western North Carolina. So it has caused a as far as storms are concerned, this one has had a delightful dry slot. At least for our sake, because the fact that it's dry slotting in Washington and Philadelphia and soon to be dry slotting in New York means that we are in what is commonly called the cold conveyor belt, and therefore we may stay in this cold conveyor belt for quite a while. In fact, looking at a closer view of the radar here, and this is out of CTP, and following the is this going to loop or no? Yeah, it's just updating right now. So we're located. Is this us here? Oh, that's Bollesburg. Is that my end Walker?
Yes.
Okay. I just can't see with the colors here. So here, there we go. Okay. Yeah, we've been tickling this darker greens and some of those yellows, which are DBZs that are higher than 25, getting closer to 30, which typically is associated with snowfall rates of more than an inch an hour, or at least an inch an hour, and that band, which is the same band, arguably, that has been noted all the way from central North Carolina, is now essentially, in the eastern and southern part of Centre County, which fortunately is where we are too. But the evolution of this is kind of the challenging part of the forecast, at least for the next 6 hours, because as the band comes northwestward, which it is steadily making progress, see it is kind of being pushed out by this dry slot, which has overtaken the lower Susquehanna Valley. The advantage is that it is now encountering, it is kind of going uphill, so to speak, in terms of heading up the Appalachians, rising up a good 500 to 1,000 feet from the lower Susquehanna Valley. But at the same time, the dynamics are starting to run out of gas, as the surface low, which has been kind of zippering its way northward, to steal a term from Greg Forbes, the zipper low, it's kind of moved north along the coast, and actually, arguably, there's still a low lagging behind. But as soon as that low gets north of our latitude, this band will likely start to fall apart. And in fact, if we look at the 3-hour HRRR, which is not updated since 12Z, so there's been some, I'm sure that their circuits are being blown out in the Washington area, keeping track of this. But we can see, I'm trying to see what the time is on this. Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah. There we go. I still do it. There's the time.
There it goes. Okay.
So here's the 16. So this is at 11 o'clock this morning. Let's go ahead to now. 18Z, and here's the band that we're kind of in these enhanced colors. Now this is rates of snowfall rather than DBZ, so to speak. But you can see that band is kind of oriented from northeast to southwest along the east slopes of the higher terrain of the Appalachians here in Pennsylvania. And as we migrate along, and now notice it hasn't done a great job. In fact, this is the typical thing, by the way, with if you work with any mesoscale or small scale models, is that they're slow. And they might be good in terms of their evolution of events, but they're typically anywhere from 3 to 5 hours behind what happens, because it essentially has to numerically crank up everything with all the physics and so on, and the atmosphere just flows along. It doesn't wait, for all the equations to be solved. So the dry slot is already into southeastern Pennsylvania. This is now 20Z, which is 3 o'clock this afternoon. We're still in that enhanced reflectivity. Notice it's actually increased a little bit down here in parts of the Laurel Highlands. But this band here, the one that has been just along the range snow line, where they get a dumping of somewhere between 6 or 8 inches of snow in a matter of about 3 hours, that has migrated well to the north. It's now in the lower Hudson Valley and arguably in the burbs of Boston, although Boston, Fred tells me, is already just rain. So here we are seeing some of the, even though this is a very fine scale model, it's just a 3 kilometer, yeah, that we're still not able to resolve some of those important details where only about 12 million people live. Oops. So here, moving ahead to 22Z, this is now when the sun is going down, 5 o'clock this afternoon. Notice that this band is just starting to break apart, and in fact, they're getting holes in it. And I suspect that sometime by around 3 or 4 this afternoon, this stuff will start to, because remember the guidance tends to be too slow, that this stuff will fall apart or start to break into pieces. But an interesting feature to note, and this is probably too slow. This is at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock tonight. As the upper level low comes up, and arguably the upper level low is down here in eastern Virginia at that time, and the cold air starts to come in, the upper levels are cooling, and the precipitation continues. This cold conveyor belt kind of jumps over us, jumps to the east, and as the precipitation turns back to snow, it does so with some vigor in eastern Pennsylvania, so that Philadelphia may not be out of the woods. In fact, we'll look here. Now, it hasn't gotten there yet, but this is supposedly at 3Z. Remember, this is now about almost 6 hours old, and arguably it's probably 5 hours behind at that point too. So this may be happening closer to this late this afternoon. That the precipitation will be over here and likely changing back to snow with perhaps rates of 1 inch an hour for an hour or so in the burbs, or even in the big cities of Philadelphia, perhaps a little bit in Baltimore, and eventually getting into New York. So, and that if any of you have lived in the urban areas of the Northeast with big coastal storms, and change over to rain, inevitably, when the cold air comes back in, there's a period of snow as well too. That in the big storms, the great storms like the ones in '66 and some of the other ones, it lasts for 3 or 4 hours, and one can get almost a half a foot of snow. But this looks like it's a very elongated low. In fact, you can see the yellow lines here, if they're visible, show the surface low. One center being just off the coast of New Jersey, but the main center actually, well, this is a little lower, but the active center is up here east of Boston by that point. So these elongated lows are not necessarily favorable for absolutely incredible snow amounts, as more than 2 feet. But for us, it's a godsend, because we probably would have never gotten to the cold conveyor if it wasn't so strung out from north to south as it is, and able to throw the moisture back into this cold dome that's been over us. So anyway, that's kind of the shorter range stuff. We're staying in this band for the next couple hours. I'd say probably at least until 2:30 or 3. I believe it'll start to break up around that time, or become more diminished, and likely end, I'd say, by just after or around sundown. And then there'll be another band that will move. Where's Dan? That we'll have to deal with moving through the eastern part of the state in the first half of the night. before it all winds down and says goodbye. Any comments or questions before we? Yes, George.
Is there a trowel playing any role in here?
A
Trowel?
a trowel. Is that a nautical term? Are we, there's a skiff out there. Yes. Pardon me? George, it might very well be.
I'll answer that. I look, George. It doesn't really develop until it gets up into New England. So it's not right now. No.
So you're talking about like a stratospheric intrusion?
No,
It's a piece of the warm conveyor belt that gets wrapped.
That gets wrapped all the way around. Okay.
And that has not happened here. This is just plain cold conveyor belt.
Yeah.
the whole conveyor belt is making a structure that looks trowel-esque, but isn't.
That's correct.
Well, in fact, if you look at the forecast amounts of snow, it looks like that develops when it gets into eastern Canada, because somewhere in Nova Scotia gets 30 inches of snow.
Yeah, it develops once it gets into New England. You start to see, like if you look at equivalent potential temperature at 700 millibars.
Yeah, it's a good way to go. Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't gone up, just look at this surface.
Other questions or comments before we can also, since we're in this zone, let's go ahead and see. There's a trailing wave which is not inconsequential. I'm not sure if this is. Should I get out of the F11 mode?
Yeah. Did the 12Z NAM 4K show anything different than what the HERS do? I mean, I know they're similar in structure. But
It had the band. Remember I was showing you.
Yeah. We're just we're competing with all the weather weenies out there who are hitting hard against us right now. So you're looking at the
NAM hoops for the north.
Yeah.
Look at the reflectivity loop, I think. But yeah, the web server is being hammered by all the folks in their mother's basement.
Are you looking at short term here?
Yeah. Oh, I'm talking about the next the things Friday night, Saturday. Yeah. But since it came up, we'll at least pay homage to the 4 kilometer and see if it's going to show us anything of interest as well too, or at least reinforce the fact that this cold conveyor is nearing its pinnacle and soon to be winding down. The advantage of doing a PowerPoint presentation is at least I know how fast it'll go.
There's the band if you go back.
Yeah, let me go.
The yellow is.
Let me go to the here. Okay. Here's the
there it is at 15Z.
15Z. So see, it's still very close by in our backyard, so to speak. At 18Z, we're as close as we're going to get to it. But we're still, arguably 20Z. But remember, the general problem with any of these is that they tend to be slow. So I'd speed it up at least a couple hours. And we're still at 21Z, 22Z. So it's possible we could be in the fickle finger 23Z. And then I think by the time we get to around 0Z, minus 3 hours, so probably 22Z, we're just about out of the action. But there is also, it doesn't show as well here as compared with the HRR as far as this band of the cold conveyor sweeping east of the mountains. Of course, it will be fighting downsloping as well too, because the surface will become more northwesterly too. So this goes away, and tomorrow is another day. That I can predict with high degree of certainty. And we stay in the cloud cover, at least in the mountains. And here comes the maybe the caboose, maybe not, on this train of disturbances. How it handles it, of course, and I think we're going to see another degree of machination in terms of trying to figure this one out. Is the urban areas of the Northeast, Philadelphia, more likely New York, and Boston could very well get another quick dumping of snow out of this. The difference, however, is this will be highly concentrated right around. It'll be all positive vorticity advection associated with it. There's no high in the way. This had a massive high, which is one of the most important ingredients for a big snowstorm, and a distinct short wave in the southern branch. This is a short wave in the northern branch, so it's not anywhere near as potent in terms of moisture.
Type of precip is going to get a lot more interesting for these guys. So I think it's going to be mostly a rain event. See for this next.
This thing in DC, yeah.
And then somewhere it's going to get mixed, but
yeah,
you're going to have to pay attention to not only what fall, but the liquid or frozen.
Well, and also a time of day too. We're almost getting to the March sun effect, so to speak, so that daytime precipitation can be rain in the urban areas, but evening and night is for the snow.
It looked like it was late Friday night, early Saturday.
It would be.
Snow here.
I would think it'd be snow.
Snow here.
Yeah, but this is 15Z here Saturday, and when it's centered, or at least the precipitation would have ended by 15Z in New York. So maybe it's snow that ends as some drizzle or something like that in the urban Northeast. So that's kind of the next event, and that thing then, by the way, and there's another short wave that comes in. I guess we can look at the big picture if time permits on this.
You're doing all right, Paul. 108.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to hold off on my other discussion here. If we look at I haven't looked at the GFS way out, other than that I know there's a push of polar air, another push of Arctic air, arguably, that comes in later Saturday or Sunday morning, I should say. And that, I think, is the final puff of bitter chill, which will probably lead us to temperatures early Monday daybreak, being somewhere down in the single numbers again. And after that, it's going to warm up for a while. And let's just kind of navigate through this. Go back to 11 and see what happens. So here goes the low. Adios. Here's this other little thing. Pardon me. This is this trailing wave here at Iowa at that point on Saturday evening, is the one that brings a reinforcement of cold air. It doesn't happen on Sunday night or Saturday night, Sunday morning, because we're in clouds. But here we are early Monday, and dry air, ridge of high pressure right over us. Thicknesses are not extremely low, although arguably the GFS has not been handling the depth of the cold air very well. But we're -10 at 850, and I think yesterday morning we were -10 at 850, and it was 14 below zero at my house. So it can certainly get below zero with even though the 850 temperatures are only around 14 Fahrenheit.
Well, on the snowpack's not going anywhere.
Not this weekend. And then here it is. Hello, spring.
That's not real spring. That's spring.
Ice.
Yeah, that's the well,
Teaser spring.
yeah, that will bring temperatures to or above freezing after it goes by.
But this next one I believe in.
Yeah, this looks more encouraging. Although I see it's taking the problem can happen is that with even though there's a bunch of lows strung out here, if there's not a strong low to the north, we won't get a good westerly flow at the surface. And this cold air is like molasses. It's not going to get moved out anytime soon, especially if we have an interval, a night in between where there's even just a little bubble high, as is indicated here. So what time is this? See this thing here, right there. This is next Wednesday night, or a little bubble high with thicknesses near 546 may be sufficient if the skies are clear to produce temperatures in the teens. So we have to be careful about how quickly it's going to warm up. Even though the trough axis, as we get farther out in time, is digging into the western part of the U.S. Good for them. Not so good if you want to be living along any of the rivers and creeks in Pennsylvania that are ice jammed right now. And who knows what will become of it. Now, I think that precipitation, as we've already talked about, and actually is going to be a short bet, is going to be some freezing rain and ice pellets Monday night to Tuesday. This event here. And it looks like it may have it will have at least one finger, at least one isobar coming out of the Gulf, so there'll be a little bit of higher theta E air than would have from this disturbance that's coming by on Friday night, Saturday morning. And of course, a lot of warm advection, which means that it's going to come in faster than expected, and also will probably be a little juicier than expected too. And there it is. So then, yeah, I think that if there's any caution, notice that here we are next Thursday night. So we just talked about Wednesday night potentially being cool. A little boundary comes through, and we have another little bubble high with thicknesses only at 546. So it may struggle to get into the 50s anywhere in the state, at least until after this low comes out onto the plains and finally opens the Gulf up for a bit. But of course, the Gulf opens and clouds come up too, and that means our mins will go up, but our maxes may still struggle to get very high. Comments or questions? I would be happy to skip my other presentation since it's almost 1:15, and the rule is nobody's ever disappointed by a presentation that goes a little short. So I will not disappoint you today. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Dr. Neese is next Thursday, 12:45.
No, I wasn't watching on phone.
I'll
Snow globe again.
No, I think they made.
I know, but they keep playing. Yeah. I don't understand. They are so cheap. Everything for 1-7.
We're so cheap.
And they'll still probably.
Thanks.
Sure.
They've gone.